Doc Gallagher, and this is Better Than Cooperstown. I'm in the Frank Lucchesi home and at Frank and Kathy's marvelous Baseball Wall of Fame upstairs. Let's look at some of the things that Frank and Kathy have accumulated over the years and so richly earned over the years. By the way, some of our friends are visiting with us by way of radio, and I know you can't see everything I'm showing. Call me at 800-43-44-DOC, 800-43-44-DOC. I'll send you a copy of this DVD so you can enjoy this historic journey with a baseball legend. To my left, of course, is the picture of Frank Lucchesi when he was with the Phillies. I'm going to show you another picture later where Frank got a standing ovation as a manager of the Phillies. Baseball fans, baseball players, baseball professionals love Frank, not only for his professional skills, well, they still do, love him for his professional skills, but for his wonderful, compassionate attitude. Over here's Frank with the legendary Tommy Lasorda, and with President Gerald Ford at that time, rooting for the Rangers. Now, there are several newspaper articles, and again, KAAM family, I'll be glad to send you this DVD, because you've got to see these. Periodically, whenever Frank and his whole family would read articles in the paper or hear about a family or need, Frank didn't need, and his family didn't need any pitch or any encouragement, any motivation from anybody to help. Frank picked up the phone and said, hey, I want to know about that family you talked about, that the house burnt down or the father lost a job or something. And so some of these headlines of the articles are like, ex-manager now pitching relief, and it meant relief for families, immediate financial or other type of relief for people who had a need. Another one here, Man of the Year, Frank Lucchesi. Lucchesi wins pennant in compassion. So this man and his family truly are American legends. For our KAAM family, you can't see this, but we're going over to my left, and we're going to look at some other pictures. And, excuse me, Frank. One of these pictures, now we told you all the good things about Frank, but he's a human being. So now we're going to tell you some things that Kathy's in the background and saying, no, no, no. Frank, this cartoon, among other credits, Frank in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, was elected to be, or nominated to be, the best manager of the century. So his credits are enormous. What are these? Tell us about this credit, Frank, and this cartoon. Who is that guy who looks like a mad grizzly bear?
Looks like me, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. One of your credits, Frank, and one of the things you're famous for is being thrown out of the game. How many times, Frank?
62 times. Yeah.
Kathy, did you scold him every time he got home when he did that?
Once in a while.
Once in a while, okay. And actually, you had a few suspensions as well, didn't you?
5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
Well, but hey, at least your players knew that you loved them, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, great. Frank, here's a picture we're looking at. You and Kathy look like you just both won an Oscar. Yeah, stunning picture of you. And I'm going to have Kathy. Well, Kathy, why don't you come over here now, please? For radio fans, you can't see this, but Kathy Lucchesi is next to me now. Kathy, tell us about your family in this photo here to the left.
Okay, here we have Fran. She's the oldest. 7 years later, Brian came. And then 17 months later, the little one came, Karen.
Magnificent family, and also leaders in compassion and community service. Frank graciously credits Kathy with his success, and I remember one of those stories in particular. I imagine, Kathy, it must have been really, really rough in those earlier years where he was out having to ride buses and eat out of brown bags, and you probably didn't see him for days or weeks, and you were probably eking out, you were eking out a living as when he was a minor league manager. But one of those big steps came when he had the opportunity to go to Eugene, Oregon, and there was a real struggle whether he should do that or not. Tell us about that and how you encouraged him and how that led to a big-time promotion later.
Well, I think we were with San Diego, and they wanted to send Frank to Eugene, which was a notch down, right? As I remember it.
No, it was Reading, Pennsylvania. They wanted to send me.
All right, and so At that point, we had been with the Phillies for 17 years, and
Wow.
Frank thought, well, I don't know if I want to take this demotion, sort of. So maybe I should, look for another organization. And I had a strong feeling that, no, we should stick with the Phillies. We've been with them all these years, and let's not start off and start from the bottom with somebody else. Let's just hang in there, do what you always do, show them you can do it. And so, luckily, I guess we
And your wife
hung
was
in
right.
there.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I owe it to her for getting me to the big leagues for this reason. When the Phillies wanted to send me from San Diego to Reading, that was from AAA to AA, that was a little demotion.
Yes.
And they said, we want you to call us back tomorrow if you want to go. So I asked her, I said, I'm not going to go, I'm going to leave the Phillies. And she says, no, go to the Reading, show them they made a mistake, maybe you can win the pennant there. And actually, if it wasn't for her, I would never got to the big leagues.
Fantastic. Really is true, behind every great man is even a greater woman, right, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that leads to this photo on my upper left here. Again, KAAM family, please ask for this DVD so I can send it to you. You went to Reading. Hall of Fame. Who's on that Hall of Fame photo at Reading?
Yeah, that's Bob Boone and Mark Davis.
Who's the guy in the middle?
Yeah, that's me.
And then, I believe Kathy told me earlier, when you stayed in the Phillies organization, it was just a couple of years later that you went all the way to the top.
Yeah, right.
That's your first major league assignment.
Yes, absolutely. 1970.
1970. Okay. Frank, let's move over here a little bit. Let's talk about this picture of this guy who's getting a standing ovation. Tell us about that day and that picture, Frank.
Well, actually, during the week, the press is writing about that I spent a hard 19 or 20 years in the minor leagues waiting to get this job and finally got it. And so the fans, I guess, read the paper all week. And when I introduced the players and myself, everybody in the stands stood up and gave me a standing ovation.
And I believe that's the first time, or probably the only time, a baseball manager, number one, a baseball manager, got a standing ovation at the beginning of a baseball game. Frank, let's continue here. Oh, yeah, you got to tell us about this one. Gerald Ford is scolding you. President Gerald Ford is scolding you. Yeah. Why is President Gerald Ford scolding you?
He was out at a Ranger game, and the day before that, they got thrown out of the game. So now he's telling me, Frank, be good to the umpires today. And they snapped the picture. That's what it is.
Okay, let's look at some of these others down here. Here, Frank. Who's this with you, with the Phillies here?
That's Larry Boa.
Oh,
I had him in Philadelphia, and I had him in the minor leagues. And I was kind of proud of Larry because actually in 1970, they wanted to send him to the minor leagues, the general manager, and I said, no, I want to keep him. He'll get better, and he did.
Mm. Yeah, you had a great sense of players' capabilities. When you were a minor league manager, Frank, as I recall, you sent more minor league players to the majors than anyone else.
Yeah, quite a few, I guess.
And a lot of them became Hall of Famers. Well, some of them became Hall of Famers. And 6 or 7 of them actually became baseball managers themselves, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's go over here and let's look at these. And Frank, you just walk over there. There's not enough room for you and me. Why don't you tell us what's on those cards up there? Frank, beginning in the upper right. Who's that in the upper right there, Frank?
Right here. Well, over here on the left is
upper left, yeah.
Billy Martin. Billy Martin, and the rest of them are players that I managed.
Who became managers?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Mike Hargrove, Pat Corrales, Jim Fregosi, Bobby Wine, Lee Illia, and Mike Cubbage, and so forth.
Now, Frank, since we're talking about Billy Martin, KAAM family has heard us tell this story before, but it's been a while, Frank, since we've had a discussion. You got to tell that story about you and Billy Martin and Louis Tiant and the walkie-talkies. Go ahead. Tell that story, Frank.
Well, we were playing a game here in Arlington, and I was coaching third base, and Billy was giving me some signs.
Billy Martin was the manager then.
Right.
Now, this is the old Arlington Stadium.
Yeah, right.
A lot of our friends watching and listening may not even realize that there was an old Arlington stadium. Go ahead, Frank.
So he's giving me signs, and I just couldn't see him, and to the first base coach, Merle Combs, says, Billy's trying to give you a sign. And I didn't know what it was, and so finally Louis Tion's on the mound, he stepped off the mound.
Louis Tion is the pitcher for the Red Sox.
Right.
Yeah.
He said, Frank, he said, Billy wants you to hit the sign. So anyway, I couldn't get the sign, and Billy was a little upset about it.
Yeah, and Louis announced to the whole stadium, Frank, he wants you to put on the suicide squeeze.
Yeah, right.
So we got a lot of great memories, a lot of great stories. Okay, Frank, thanks very much for you and Kathy letting us enjoy your Baseball Hall of Fame, and what a model you and your family have been for professional, athletic, and compassionate leadership.
Thank
This
you.
is Doc Gallagher.